Good evening. My name is Pastor Giselle, and I would like to share something with you. Let's talk about Mrs. Barkley. This was the show called Big Valley, and it was very popular at one point. It's a Western. A lot of stuff I watch are Westerns. This story is set in 1884. A widowed mother, which is Mrs. Barkley, and her 4 children grew up on a wealthy ranch. I guess her husband had died, and so she had the estate. Her children listened to her and followed her instructions all the time. Why? That's my question, why? She was their mother, matriarch of the family, and I would like to think that they believed in Jesus Christ. They were believers. Exodus 20:12 says, "Honor your father and your mother, that it may go well with you, and that you may live long in the land." Honoring means to obey. So, see, when you love your parents, then of course you naturally want to obey them. Ephesians 6:1 says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." So this is where the plot begins. She told them what to do, how to do it, and probably when to do it. The children obeyed their mother. That's what I watched. They really did obey her. I don't recall any of her children ever getting married. They would fall in love, but something would happen and they wouldn't get married. But they did fall in love. But this is my question. What happens when it's time for your children to leave home? What happens? Do you encourage them to go, or do you find them a spouse that you want them to have? Or do you want them to stay home? You encourage them to stay home, talk them out of leaving. Paul puts this in perspective when he writes to the church of Corinth. And it says, 2 Corinthians 12:14, "I am planning to visit you for the 3rd time, but I still won't make a burden of myself. What I really want is you and not what you have." Children are not supposed to save up for their parents, but parents are supposed to take care of their children. Let's look at it from this viewpoint. Paul says he's coming to visit the church of Corinth, but not to ask for money, likening himself to the parent. It's the parent's responsibility to take care of the children, and the church has accused Titus of taking money, which was not true at all. He was also addressing this. Victoria could have had plenty grandchildren with 3 boys and a daughter, thus assuring the ranch to be provided for generations of the family to come. I think maybe she was a domineering mother, controlling, who dared to let her children be totally independent. Wealth often brings entitlement and contention. Their children lack for nothing based upon their willingness to do what they were told. See, money drives things, and don't believe anything else, because it does. Look at how life is now. If you have money, or if you don't, you're going to spend it. You want to change things about yourself because you want to look like you see somebody look on TV. But you don't actually know what they really have when they begin to do those changes in how they look. So a good example of this would be royalty. Their children have a job within the structure, but they are not allowed to steer from protocol. They probably have to eat what they're told to eat, more than likely. Most of the time, all looks well from inside, but their eyes reveal what's in their heart. I remember the Holy Spirit spoke to me, telling me to remove my child from that pedestal. Guess what I did? Remove my child from that pedestal. God looks for our obedience, just as he did with Moses and Abraham. Victoria was doing what was right by providing for her children, but she was the one widowed. There comes a time when our children need to leave the nest that has been provided for them. Even mother birds begin to remove the things that keep the birds comfortable, right? So the straw begins to stick them, the needles begin to stick them. It's not comfortable anymore because they need to fly. So even if God has taught the mother bird how to do that, we need to learn to teach our children when it's time to go. If you listen to the voice of God, you'll know what God desires for you to do. Don't ignore God's timing, because you'll live it to regret it. I hope this nugget has provided you with something when it concerns your grown children. It's very important. I think you should raise them to be independent, honestly. And then later in life, they'll begin to just call you and talk to you about things to still help them make decisions, but you let them make that decision, because that's the important thing, that they learn to make decisions and they learn how to fail. They have to learn how to fail, because without that, they won't know how to go forward. God bless you. Have a great evening.